All right. All right. There it is. Welcome to the Rise Up Podcast. I'm your host, Jonah Mitchell. On this show, I do my best to help you get out of your own way, create success when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, building muscle, whatever it is you want to accomplish, so that ultimately you can rise up to your potential and live a life that you actually want to without all the struggles that are commonly found when it comes to trying to change your body and enhance your life and your health. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the 3 signs that you're ready to lose weight, and not just lose weight, to keep it off, right? Because there's a lot of us that can ultimately lose weight and then fluctuate and be in a yo-yo process that doesn't actually lead to sustainable success. Today, I want to give you the 3 characteristics that help me and help and honestly the things that I help cultivate in my within my clients so that they find their success either with me or without me, either way. But these are the 3 big things. And we're going to start off with all 3, but stick around for the explanations of each. All right. So the first sign that you're ready to start losing weight is that you are no longer getting in your own way. Self sabotage, emotional situations, or whatever it is, you are no longer actively sabotaging your own goals. Number 2, you have learned how to develop patience. Patience meaning that it may not happen as quickly as you would like it to, but it will happen nonetheless as you continue to show up. It will happen regardless. And number 3, you know how to adapt. Things may not always go your way, but if you learn how to accommodate for what situations lie ahead, you will always be able to find progress, and you will always be able to stay consistent. That's the most important thing that needed to see results. So I want to start with those, so you stick around and understand the explanation of each. Right? This isn't typical like what you need to feel or do. Like what is your body going to tell you? This is how you know that no matter what happens, you're going to see the results. Right? And if you want to know like the steps that like the physical things that you can start doing to help like prime your body for weight loss, listen to my last episode. That'll help you. But this one is about how you know the relationship that you have with yourself is ready to not only lose the weight but keep it off. So let's dive in the first one. You stop getting in your own way. Right? You stop getting in your own way. The biggest reason people don't get to where they want to go is because they always find a reason to get in their own way. They let their life dictate how they show up within it, right? They let people, they let situations, they let emotions dictate the decisions that they make. And I've talked about this a lot lately, well, not in just a podcast, but in with a lot of my clients, of understanding that they have certain behaviors, certain reactions that are not aligned with their own. And ultimately, the only way that we're going to make sure that we not only see the results that we want and keep them is we learn to take that part of us, that emotional, that survival part of us that says, I've had one bad day, I might as well just have a bad week. Or I wasn't prepared, or I didn't have enough meal prep, so I'm just going to eat out for the rest of the day, or or someone brought donuts into work and I had no control, so I had 3 or 4 donuts. Like those reactions, those all or nothing reactions, or anything like that, where we feel like we're losing control and we are going against and we're doing bad, we're cheating on our diet, right? If we catch that side of us and we limit the amount of times it happens, right? We limit the amount of times it happens. I don't expect anyone to fully get rid of that, especially if that's something we've practiced for years, if not decades. And I talk to a lot of people who, for the vast majority of their life, they struggle with their ability to have enough willpower, enough motivation to say no to these situations. So we can't expect it to disappear after years of practice, right? This is all we're doing. This is all we've done. Is a lot of the behaviors that we have a hard time with, we've practiced it over and over and over again. Just because we want it to go away doesn't mean it always will. So the first thing is to understand that, hey, in order for me to see results and to know I'm ready to see results, that part of me that makes me make decisions that I don't truly think about until afterwards, I just have to I just want to work on making it happen a lot less often. Because no matter what I give a client or give you, like a macro prescription or workout program, whatever, yeah, anyone can follow macros and follow the macros to a T, follow a template to a T, and they can see results. But if they don't know how to handle, well, I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But anyway, if they don't know how to handle certain reactions, certain situations that don't entail them to be able to follow something exactly to a T, well, then that's what leads to the spiral. So all we need to do is like, okay, let's have the spiral happen less often. And that comes from preparation. That comes from awareness, right? Preparation could be meal prepping and setting yourself up for success. Preparation could be setting up your environment, like your car, with snacks and drinks that will help you mitigate the convenience of going out and grabbing a quick snack or a coffee that's got 500 calories in it, or just stopping at a fast food restaurant. Like setting up your environment, setting up for you, and being prepared so that it's easier for you to make the more aligned decision and more difficult for you to make the misaligned decision. So that makes sure that that emotional survival side of you that reacts instead of thinks has a harder time dictating what you do. And then you get to stay in the driver's seat. You get to actively choose something that you know deep down is going to serve your goals. And that gives you so many other skills long afterwards, right? Because ultimately, when we're thinking of the long term, what we do to lose the weight is how we're going to keep it off. So if we learn how to prepare and set ourselves up for success, then we can work in how do we fit these parts into our routine that ultimately help us stay consistent. You know, if we learn how to find areas that may not always be super easy, but will ultimately save us time in the long run and save us a headache in the long run, these pieces will allow you to stop always self-sabotaging, right? You take the reins of your life, of your goals, and you set yourself up in a way that makes it easier for you to show up the way that you want to, instead of showing up in a way that makes it harder for you to see results. All right. So when we work on and set up our environment to stop allowing ourselves to get in our own way as often, because we can't expect it to go away. It's not easy to do, not easy to get rid of something that we've practiced for a long time. But once we do that, and we're actively preparing and setting up ourselves for success, then we can move on number 2, developing patience. This one, I mean, all 3 of these can really go hand in hand together, but I want to talk about each one individually because ultimately, the only way to achieve your results is if you continue to show up. And unfortunately, we don't have direct control over our body weight, meaning that the things that we do not always translate to the results. We can't treat our body weight, the transformation that we're trying to accomplish, as a transactional relationship. I was good for a week. Why didn't I lose 5 pounds? It's like that's not how your body actually works. And this is why people can get so discouraged. They are trying to get to the end faster than they're aware it can happen. Sometimes, and don't get me wrong, some people can see tremendous results incredibly fast. But a lot of those people that I've worked with, they don't often have the same self-sabotaging behaviors as some other people do. Some people, it's literally flip the switch and they can see results, and that's fine. That's great. Some people, it may take a little bit more time. So if we understand that the most important thing I need to do is just continue to show up, I just need to stay in the game, it will happen. And if we stop holding an expectation of I do this, therefore I should get this. If we just say I showed up for myself and that was the best I could do, that was good enough. That was a great week for what it used to be. And as long as we keep building on that, well, it's going to be inevitable. The goals will happen inevitably. It's hard to develop that patience. It's hard to develop that trust within yourself that it can happen. But it's it's one of the most important things, because after you have that patience, nothing really holds you back as much as it used to anymore, because you know deep down it's going to happen. And yeah, it takes a little bit of faith. It takes a lot of faith, actually, because you have to take something that you haven't found much success in and convince a very scared part of your brain that it's okay, that it's not happening as fast as we want it to. And you have to do that consistently. You have to do that over and over and over again. I was just talking to a client yesterday who she's like, I just need to see something. I need to see something that'll tell me I'm going in the right direction. If I have a little bit of movement on the scale, or if my clothes fit a little bit different, I know I'll stay motivated for the long term to see my results. I'm like, cool. When's the last time that happened? When's the last time you saw results like that? You're like, oh, and she told me, oh, back in September, because we had this conversation yesterday. Back in September. So today's February 2nd. So September was that 4 or 5 months ago. And she lost 10 pounds joining a gym. And she was excited. She was ecstatic. And then she kept going to the gym. And a part of her started to believe that she didn't have to be as consistent with her food. And then she slowly started regaining that weight and a little bit more after that. And then she was like super confused and frustrated. She's like, wow, I was doing so good. But then we're having this conversation, and she wasn't working with a coach then. She's working with me now. And I asked her, so you had the physical result before. Why do you think that you had a hard time making more aligned decisions, even though you had the physical results? And she's like, oh, I don't really know. I guess I wasn't aware that I would go back to my old patterns, right? And ultimately, I'm telling you this because it's not just about seeing or feeling physical results, because that's not going to solve the problem, right? She said she needed to see physical results to keep motivation, but she had physical results 6 months ago, but the motivation didn't last even when she had the physical results. So now we're trying to tackle the actual problem of she just needs to continue to be patient with herself. She needs to keep showing up and stop trying to, well, this goes back to getting in her own way of she thought everything had to go perfectly. If it's not perfect, why even try? So then it doesn't happen as fast as she likes it to. She has no proof that it's working, so she doesn't think it's even worth it. But that's, again, self-defeating, getting in your own way. So now we understand, well, the way that we do this is have patience. Trust that as long as you keep showing up, you will convince yourself over and over and over again that it's going to happen. Even if we have proof, it's not going to be the only thing that we need to see results. Proof will come if we keep showing up and working on the process, not the outcome. The process is developed through patience. And patiently focusing on and patiently approaching your weight loss and looking at it as it will happen as long as I keep showing up is not only going to reframe a lot of your limiting beliefs and a lot of the struggles that make you get in your own way, but it will also take a lot of pressure off of you. You already have a lot of stuff going on in your life. You already have so many things that take more of your attention, and we only have a certain amount of bandwidth to give. So if we're expecting immediate change and immediate progress and we don't give that, we're just adding extra pressure when we already have other pressure coming from other areas of our life. So the goal is to develop, hey, if I show up to the best of my ability, that's going to be good enough. That's going to tie into helping me set myself up for success, allow me to stop getting my own way. I'm going to increase my consistency levels. And when I increase my consistency levels, that's what's going to lead to physical results. And when I'm more consistent and I start seeing physical results, then I will develop the proof that the changes that I've made, the patience that I developed, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. This is a hard conversation to have, but if you don't have it in the very beginning, if you don't establish this level of consistency or this level of awareness with yourself, even if you lose the weight, it's probably not gonna make you feel much better. It's probably going to be a matter of time before it comes back. And that's why I'm trying to say, I want to save you the time. I want you to have the results. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to wait and delay. I just want you to, alongside working on the mechanical pieces, the improving your movement, improving your food quality, improve the inner game, the inner mentality that you have as well. Because that's what's going to solidify all the changes you're making, so that you don't revert back to old patterns that make it easy for you to regain the weight that you've lost, right? This creating transformation is not just external, it is internal. And the more we can develop these skills and understand these things, the more patience that we can develop with ourselves and say, it will happen when it happens. Yeah, it's going to take it takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust And trust is not easy to develop with ourselves if we don't have proof. I mean, look at any time we had trust broken with a friend or a family member. How long does it take to redevelop that trust? If it ever is redeveloped again. So to trust that it's going to happen as long as you keep showing up, like, it's hard. But if you don't develop or you don't get that in a better place, it can make this process a lot more difficult, and then revert back to you getting back in your own way, doing behaviors that don't actually align with you. But again, this is why I'm telling you this. This is how you're going to tell you're ready, because ultimately this makes everything a lot easier. This removes the emotion so that we can make the adjustments needed to see the results that you want within the means of your current life. Makes it a lot easier. So, moving on to the third one. It's probably going to be a shorter episode, but that's okay. Don't always want to take up so much of your time. So, the third way to tell if you're ready to lose weight is when you know how to adapt and know that it's okay. This goes back to being all or nothing or expecting perfection when perfect people don't exist. So we got to stop pretending to be one. Shout out to NF on Remember This. It's a great song. Staying in the game, knowing that it's not always going to look the way that you expect it to. It's not always. You can do everything in your power to make sure that you are as prepared as you possibly can be, and something still can happen that will mess up this process. Something that you didn't plan for, something that you didn't ask for. A family member gets hurt, you get sick, right? You lose your job. Something out of your control will always end up happening. And if we do not understand that it's okay for those things to happen, and it's okay, well, okay. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm saying. I don't want bad things to happen. I don't want misfortune to happen. But there's certain things that we can't control. So when they happen, it's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of you failing. It is a byproduct of the life that we live. So it's okay for them to happen because they're going to, regardless. And we have to accept that. We have to accept that when they do happen, it's okay to adapt and say, I wasn't prepared. I didn't plan for this. I didn't ask for this, but maybe I can still do a little bit better than I would have done in the past. Another client example, working with her. She's an avid listener of the podcast, so I hope she listens to this episode. And something happened to one of her kids, and it was hard. She had a really tough week, and I don't have children. But I imagine when your child is in a situation where they get hurt or they're unhappy, it's a very taxing feeling for a parent because they empathize. They don't want their child to experience pain or discomfort or anything of the like. And so when something serious happens, it's very easy to forget about what we're trying to focus on and what she was trying to focus on for her own goals. And then it's very easy for us to go down a rabbit hole of, well, I'm stressed. The situation sucks. I'm not going to be eating my meals. I might as well eat 6 slices of pizza because I'm starving and it's going to help me feel better, And in that moment, in one of those moments, this client of mine, she had 2 slices instead of 6. And that may not seem like a lot of progress. That may still feel like you made a bad decision. But if it's better than what it used to be, if you adjust and say, you know what, I'm going to make a slightly better decision based off the situation, based off the circumstances. It may not be perfect. It may not be pretty, but it's better than what it would have been. That is a huge form of progress. That is you saying, I don't control everything, but I'm going to insert control in something that I can't control. And I'm going to limit the consumption of something rather than just stuff my entire face that I would usually do. Or, another client of mine has to travel a lot for work. If he was at home controlling his food all the time, he probably wouldn't have much of an issue when it comes to seeing the progress that he wants. But unfortunately, when travel is involved a lot in our lives, there's a lot of variables that we can't control, and that sucks. especially when we want to see weight loss. Understanding that to only see weight loss, we need to be in a calorie deficit. And when you're not controlling your food, it's very hard to understand where your calories are actually coming from. So when he's at home, he's controlling the controllables, almost all the controllables, where it's much easier for us to see progress. When he's traveling, there's a lot of situations, there's a lot of meals that aren't like he's not preparing, so he can't account for the oils, the butters, the sauces, the best of his ability. All he can do is adapt to the situation and say, you know what, I can't control these meals, so I can control what I choose off the menu. I can try and choose as simple of a meal as possible to limit the discrepancies that would make it harder for me to see the results that I want. And it's the best I can do. It's the best I can do right now in the situation. I'm adapting to the situation. Even if it's not perfect, even if it affects the scale because it's not my normal, it's the best I can do. And once we have that ability, like I said, all these tie into each other. Once we, this is, these are in a way like the telltale signs of me that a client's going to find success long after I'm done working with them. Is they know how to do all of these things. They know how to for this. They know how this to control the season that they're in. If they're in a season where where they're going to have more control over their environment, they know that it's fine. It's going to be more dialed in, and that's okay. If they know that if they know they're going into a situation that they're not going to have a lot of control in, they know they're still fine because they know how to make aligned choices. If it's an anniversary, if it's work, they know exactly what to do to enjoy themselves or actively pursue their goals. They know that the reactions that they've had that made them spiral out of control due to convenience, due to emotions, due to situations, whatever it is that forced them in the past to make a decision that doesn't align with their health, they just do it for comfort. They do it because it's convenient. They do it without thinking. They ultimately don't let that happen as often because they start thinking ahead. They know that if they do this again, they're going to get in their own way. And they don't like when that happens. They don't like getting in their own way. They don't like actively being the reason why they're not seeing results. This is how you take responsibility of everything. And you let go of what isn't in your control and you focus on what is in your control and you learn how to do all these things to stay in the game so that when I tell my client it's so great that we can actually transition and focus on the means to seeing the weight go down, they know exactly that they're ready because nothing can stop them. Nothing can get in the way that like it used to, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not pretty, even if it's something they were not prepared for. They know that they can still show up, fit in with parameters that will help them see the results, and they will not spiral the way that they used to. The goal is not only to lose weight. The goal is to lose it and keep it off. And these are the ways that honestly, these are more than anything have help me and why I teach my clients more. This is why I teach my clients these fundamentals in the very beginning. So that when we transition and say this is the target this is the macro breakdown, this is the template that we're going to follow. If we follow these, we're expecting to see changes. They know that they got this, and they know that there'll be a time where they come out of it and they'll be able to keep their results. It starts here first. We do this. If you learn how to do this alongside with the last episode that I posted, I think it was the last episode, the 4 things that helped me lose 40 pounds. Like you pair both of these things together, it may not happen as quickly as you like it to, but it will happen. It will. That's the beauty of this. No matter what we do in our lives, no matter what we want to accomplish, as long as we show up and continue to play the game, what we want will happen. Now we just need to know. Ultimately, once we know these things and once we have these pieces all together, then it's constantly reviewing. Do I actually want what I say I want? Do I actually think I want to lose the extra 5 pounds, or have I created something that is sustainable for me? Right? Am I happy with the progress I've made, or do I want to make adjustments? Do I want to keep going? All these things, like it's always going to be, you're going to gain more control to ultimately decide what is worth it to you. And when you have this foundation, when you have this awareness and you know you're ready to do it, you also know that you're ready to keep it. You also know you're ready to pivot if your goals change, because that's something that happens a lot of times. I'll have clients whose goals will change halfway through the process. That's awesome. That's them being abundantly clear on what they want, and ultimately not allowing life to dictate how or if they show up for what they want. So I hope that made sense. um, yeah. If it didn't, let me know. Email me. Send me a question. All my social media is down below. I'm happy to clarify. I'm happy to help you wherever you're at. And if you found this helpful, if you found this insightful in any way, please share it with at least one person. It's always something I greatly appreciate to get to help you wherever you're at. And even if I never speak to you, I'm glad I get to have even a small impact in your journey and in your life. Um, so yeah, that's it for me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one.